T and XP acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Turrbal and Yagara people, and pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging.
Welcome to T and XP, a couple's cozy gaming podcast.
We're feeling cozy, and we hope you are too.
My name's Alexander.
And I'm Erin.
T and XP is like a book club for cozy video games. And today we're going to be looking at some true blue Aussie adventure in Dinkum.
Early access release for Dinkum began in 2022 when we first started playing it, and it was fully released in 2025 on both PC and later Switch. It was developed by James Bendon and published by Crafton. A lot of the developer skills are actually self-taught, including coding and 3D modeling. Bendon did about 5 years of development on his own and later worked with Crafton and 5 Minute Lab to finish it off and to create the co-op version. Dinkum sold 350,000 copies in the first month of early access and over 1 million units by September 2025.
The publisher, Crafton, has recently been making gaming news for all the wrong reasons, following the abrupt firing within another subsidiary developer, Unknown Worlds. The firing prevented their game, Subnautica 2, from entering early access, which also meant Crafton didn't need to make a $250 million payout to the dismissed devs. Crafton has insisted that the timing was just a coincidence, though they have since announced that they're becoming an AI-first company and are pressing for voluntary resignations. You can read up on all the controversy yourself, and we encourage you to do so. This might be the last game we review done by Crafton, but we also don't want to overshadow the amazing game that James Bendon has made, especially when it started out as a cute little indie title.
And also, he is a Queenslander, and we are also Queenslanders as well. So, there's some state pride in that, I suppose.
Yeah.
In Dinkum, you'll play as a disillusioned resident of cold, miserable South City who's looking to leave the grey, concrete jungle behind. At the start of the game, your custom-made character has responded to an advertisement looking for an intrepid adventurer to start a new life in Dinkum's rustic wilderness. You meet Fletch, poster of the ad, and together you board an airship and travel to the island of whatever you named the game in the setup. Armed with a tent and guided by Fletch, you set up a tiny patch to call home, and from there, the adventure is your own.
Dinkum is an open-world sandbox game, meaning that you'll progress the game on your own terms, rather than following a story or missions. There'll be some obvious ways to advance, like unlocking better gear or getting new people to move into the island, but you've got a lot of freedom to do it at your own pace and on your own terms. In the game, you find a spot to set up base camp and start your new life by foraging, building a few basic amenities like a campfire and a crafting bench, and inviting an entrepreneurial visitor to join the island in the hopes that they'll become a permanent resident. You'll have a variety of skills to develop, including mining, fishing, farming, and hunting, but you'll also want to look after visitors and residents as your motley campsite slowly evolves into a glorious little township.
Yeah. If you've listened to our previous episodes, you'll notice that some of this, like leveling up skills and developing relationships with the locals, is sounding suspiciously familiar. Dinkum is basically a mashup of two widely recognised cozy titles, Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing New Horizons, but with a big helping of charming Australiana. It borrows the Stardew formula of a short day-night cycle, farming and ranching, and a side gig in adventuring, and the Animal Crossing themes of building and decorating your own little community where you can hang out. The game has a lot of original ideas though, so that's not meant to sound dismissive. It might use these other titles as touchstones for game genre, but if you write off Dinkum as a clone, you'll be missing out on a creative, charming, and very cozy game that is brimming with personality.
Just a quick note on comparing titles. Animal Crossing actually uses real-world day and time.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, it's worth pointing out. It means you're going to be inherently locked to a bit more of a daily routine in games like that, whereas something like Dinkum, you can play much more at your own pace. Again, like Stardew Valley.
Yes, yeah. And Dinkum is a co-op game, but you don't have to play it in co-op, whereas part of the charm of Animal Crossing is playing it with others.
And when we say co-op, I think you can actually have up to 4 or 5 players.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not just 2-player.
Yeah. While we're talking about gaming mechanics, though, it's worth a quick mention of this game's accessibility features. It's not going to require finely tuned reflexes, but you will need to navigate some basic combat and the fishing minigame, which is admittedly a lot easier than Stardew's version. The game isn't particularly demanding, but that's probably for the best because it doesn't have much in the way of additional support. If you need any accessibility features, you'll need to go searching for third-party mods. These include mods to unlock the mouse cursor when in-game, automatically pick up items from the ground, or simplify interactions with in-game machines like smelters or grain mills. It is also a game that my mum has played a lot of hours on. I have a feeling mum's played more hours on Dinkum than we have, and we've played about 160 hours on Dinkum.
No,
So
at least. It's
yeah.
probably going to be a bit more than that, but still not as much as your mum.
No, she's been really into it, and she has a very great little town as well. And we have all three played together at the start as well when she was
Yeah,
getting started on Dinkum, which was a lot of fun. So things like the fishing compared to Stardew Valley, it's so much easier. It's just that idea of button mashing, and then when the line goes red, just letting it go and then
yeah.
repeat. Am I explaining that well?
So it's not even button mashing, it's just you hold the button
It's
down when it
holding,
says
that's right.
hold and you
Yeah.
release it when it says stop.
Yeah.
And so it's more like a kind of little traffic light mini game.
That's right. Sort of, yeah, your stop and go kind of function as well. So even I can fish, whereas in Stardew Valley, I was just so hopeless that I had to build up my fishing skills by basically using crab pots.
Oh, but the Stardew Valley one was tricky. And look, I love that mini game. It was a welcome relief in Dinkum that,
Mm,
it's just a much more simplified version.
yes, much easier on the reflexes and easier on the hands. And yeah, it was good.
And hey, bonus, you can kind of squint in at the water and try and work out which fish you're actually going after.
Yes, you can actually see them below the water because the graphics are not the pixel style like Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
They're much higher 3D quality. And yeah, it's quite charming to see everything under the water.
So we've talked narrative and we've talked game mechanics, but what did you actually love about the game? What set it apart from Stardew Valley, which, let's face it, is a tough act to follow? And I'm not just talking about the fishing minigame.
It's also the pearls. You can go pearl diving. What set it apart from Stardew Valley and why it's worth its own review and discussion is the town building. You get to decide where and how the town is set up. We've spent a lot of time making our town crock-proof with earth walls and beautiful with flowers and decorations, but the sky is the limit on this. People have made huge agricultural areas. There's some really gorgeous public gardens out there. Like there's gardens there that I almost they looked like those Singapore public gardens, these really
Yeah,
famous ones with I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is like this hanging gardens kind of effect. It was really lovely. And I've also seen people make like racing tracks to try out all their vehicles. We like to keep ours a bit more village themed and work with more of the natural features of the land. But it is just so much fun building a town. I'm not much of a decorator, but I like building and decorating the town.
yeah. So just while you mention, building our little town within the natural features of the land, it's worth pointing out that each map is procedurally generated. So that means it's largely random. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise what you get each game and what you've got to work with. So one of our towns, we just built it around this big kind of billabong, and that
Like
was
a
the center of our
lagoon, yeah.
town.
That
Yeah,
was lovely. It was a
that
really
was
nice
such a
one.
good town. I was so
Yeah.
proud of that.
Yeah.
But we've also had a few strange ones, and this is just going to happen from the randomized nature. You know exactly what I'm talking
I
about?
am, yes. Once I landed, and they put you generally on the east side of the map. So the map will have, rainforest area to the north. There'll be a lot of scrub and desert sort of in the middly areas. And then usually to the west or the southwest, there'll be islands that basically are supposed to be like Tasmania. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's got different biomes, but there's a definite starting area, which is the
yes.
bushland.
Yeah, and it's always to the east of the main cluster of islands, except a game that I started recently, and I was put on the furthest east island on the possible map. And you are surrounded by water, so there's a fair whack of it. And just trying to swim back to the mainland to find anything nearly
Yes.
killed me because you've got an energy bar. And I managed to avoid sharks and jellyfish and get to land, but at great personal expense and health bar. And then Fletch just turns up there and she's like, what kept you? And you're like, sure, okay, I've just swum kilometers from the edge of the map, but sure, Fletch, let's hurry up with the tent.
That was a bit of a hiccup with the procedural generation, though. Usually, it's a much more chill experience landing on
Yes,
Dinkum.
yeah, absolutely. Rather than building heaps of fences, we actually just built up natural areas to make sure that we didn't suddenly turn around and have a croc to the face because they are silent and attack you and are a bit alarming.
Yeah, so we found out you have a bit of a croc phobia, which was, something we both discovered in this game.
No, well, I mean, who doesn't have a croc phobia? I have a phobia to being attacked by wild animals. But no, it was just alarming to turn around and have this animal lunge and snap at you. And I might have, dear listener, responded with a bit of shrieking and screaming that just didn't actually go away over the course of the game. It was like as fresh
Yeah, no,
like yesterday as it
we're
was
hitting
on
an
day
hour
one.
160, and
Yeah.
you're still like, there were times where I thought something was actually happening in the real world. It's
Yes.
like, oh my god, is there a spider?
there a
Is there a
spider?
cockroach? Is someone breaking in? Like, yeah.
I'm like, no, it's a crocodile. Or a cassowary, which are called werimus in games.
Yeah, there are a lot of crocodiles to contend with, so we do highly recommend building just a dirt wall to keep them out.
Yes, yeah.
So one thing I love about the game is that it gives you a lot of tools for decoration and creativity. Some of this is just going to be obvious things like shovels and bridges for physically changing and navigating the land around you, but just as importantly, there's a huge range of cosmetic styles and decorations. This ranges from furniture to flower beds to the flowers themselves, and there's so much clothing in there, ranging from goofy outfits to surprisingly sensible ones.
I had some, yeah, I've played it where I've gone really sensible and gone like big broad hat and flannel and look like I'm about to tackle the Queensland environment. And then I've had other ones where I'm like, yes, I will wear this military coat and this top hat and these sunnies, and you can do whatever you want. It's good
Yeah,
fun.
but it's just amazing how much emphasis they put on it. And I think that's another thing which kind of separates this and Animal Crossing from Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
Stardew Valley obviously has still some really lovely cosmetic stuff, and you can choose like the different appearances for pathways, and you have various pot plants and just purely cosmetic items, but it's nowhere near on the scale of this, where it's an integral part of your game. It's not just developing this town and hitting these in-game landmarks. It's also about making it yours and customizing it and being something which you've made yourself.
Yes, lots of civic pride.
Exactly.
We did also see someone make a blockbuster video in their town, which I don't even know where to begin, how I would create that, but it was very funny.
That was incredible. Wish I got the author of that because yeah, they just deserve a round of applause.
Absolutely, yes. And the clothes are good fun. Again, I'm not a decorator. I'm not someone who usually spends a lot of time designing my character, as Alex can attest. I think I spend distressingly little time designing characters, and Alex prefers to sort of mull it over and design them and everything. But
To be fair, I think it's like the inverse of real life, where you put a lot of thought into your personal appearance, and me maybe less so.
it's just not cozy doing it in game, yeah. But you can also get the outfits that the NPCs or non-playable characters wear as well. So it's really
Yeah.
fun to turn up to the museum that Theodore runs dressed as Theodore as well. So yeah, you can have good fun with that. I like it.
Just while we're on aesthetics, it's worth pointing out that this has a very obvious Australiana theme, but it's also got a bit of a post-apocalyptic theme. You'll dig up treasures from the old world, like old phones and gaming consoles, except you won't know what they are, so the in-game description is just like smooth slate for an iPhone.
Yes, and slider for a mouse if you found it. If you
Yeah,
find a
yeah.
mice, yeah. If you find a mice, ah, I need to bite. Yeah. No, absolutely. The Australiana is obviously for us very, very charming. There's a lot of flowers that are Australian as well. So you can get billy buttons and kangaroo paw and desert pea, which did you know is the state flower for Northern Territory, Alex?
I did, but only because you told me before.
Grade 4 really drilled into me state and territory flowers. I don't know why. The other Australiana elements are the seasons are a bit softer. So they have in more recent updates introduced things like snow, but that wasn't there originally. Australia does get snow, by the way, but not that much and not that often compared to other parts of the world.
So it's worth pointing out we did play this in early access and we got quite stuck into it then. So a
Yes.
lot of these features are relatively new because the game has only just officially released.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think I also like the Australiana part that it does imitate a lot of Australian biomes. So I said
Yeah,
I like that you can go to the southwest and it is basically like being in the state of Tasmania and they're not Tassie devils. I think they're just called devils
I
or
think they're just
something.
called
Yeah,
devils.
yeah. Only Australian Tasmanian devils do not shoot fireballs at you and swim effectively and chase you
Yeah,
across
and they're
the
not
ocean.
like 5 foot tall and built
Yes,
like a brick outhouse.
yes,
Yes.
exactly. And also, if you go to the rainforest area, you can get chased by what would be a cassowary.
Yeah.
But you can also steal cassowary eggs, which are really valuable. So it's worth the danger, even though they are persistent and they will chase you for much longer than you think they will.
You had a complex relationship with the cassowary nests in this game
Yes.
because they terrified you and yet you could not resist the siren call of stealing another cassowary egg.
Yeah, yeah. My best was 5 in a day, which is really good because you actually have to carry them one by one. You can't actually put them in your backpack and accumulate them. So you have to like run with them over your head like some kind of mischievous, triumphant weirdo running away with the egg cackling and stuff. But yeah, no, but they're worth a lot of money. It's worth trying. A lot of dinks, sorry. The in-game currency is dinks.
Yeah, I found an entirely new side of you playing this game. Like I also you were into ecological conservation and you were anti-capitalist, and yet as soon as there's dinks on the table for these eggs,
Yeah. Also shark killing. Killed a lot of sharks.
yeah.
Have we talked about sharks recently?
Dave the Diver.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm like,
The
why are
other
we
game
talking
where
about
you
sharks?
kill a lot of sharks to make
I
fish and
didn't
chips.
kill a lot of sharks in Dave the Diver because I never leveled up well enough to be able to do so. You can stand on land and poke a shark with a stick in Dinkum, and therefore it is okay.
This is true.
Or at least manageable, maybe not okay. Never okay to kill a shark. I think the other thing as well is that there's all these really fun Australian moments in there as well. So all the food that you can cook is Australian. So you can cook fairy bread, you can get lamingtons, which is kind of cake. You can make a meat pie. You can cook things like roux meat and crocodile meat, which Australians don't actually eat that much of. It's a bit gourmet. Yeah, it's really fun for that side of it, and the characters as well. So there's a character called Sheila,
Yeah.
which is Australian slang for a lady that no one ever uses anymore. And there's a character called Erwin.
You will be shocked to hear that it's named after Steve Irwin, and
He
Irwin.
looks like him too.
Yep. Erwin in game is an animal lover, and he's the one which unlocks ranching if you want to then raise your own giant wombats and woolly
Yeah.
platypus. But this is one of the things that made Dinkum so amazing to play, is just obviously it is packed with Australiana, and you're just going to have all these experiences for yourself if you're an Australian. That you're going to hear the magpie song, and you're going to see the jacaranda is in bloom in certain seasons.
Yeah, that's really nice as
You're
well.
going to recognize the giant huntsman kind of crawling around near your tents.
Which if you are foraging and you pick it up, every time you pick up a bug, you then hold it towards the screen. So you get to pick up a really big huntsman as, proximity to your size as a tiny game character, and then hold it up towards the screen, which is low-key terrifying. So
It is, but these are all kind of cartoony huntsmen, so it's not too bad.
I suppose so. And then one is like the huntsmen are largely harmless. They're just scary looking.
Yeah.
But there's one's like, you caught a funnel web spider. And like, ugh.
Yeah, they're big redbacks or something.
Yeah, exactly. Please don't pick those up. Yeah.
But you don't see Australia represented that much in gaming, and so to then see someone really celebrate it like this, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was really nice for us. But even if that part of it's not going to resonate with you, it's still a game that artistically is just beautiful. There's lovely biomes to explore. There's beautiful sunsets, and it is just aesthetically a really nice game to look at and run around in.
And again, even if you're not Australian, it's just a set of biomes and food and monsters that you're not going to see represented in a lot of other games, and on that basis alone, it deserves some big marks for creativity.
Yeah. One of the other things that I think we both really liked about this is just the notion in Dinkum of like freedom and being able to mess around in the way that you want to.
Yeah, so technically you can do that in Stardew Valley, but there's always kind of an objective that you're probably either just trying to earn more money or get something for the community center.
Yeah, and I think some of the cutscenes in Stardew Valley drag you along a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whether you want to engage with that or not, there's going to be certain moments where you just have to watch a cutscene or engage with that as well, whereas there's no equivalent of that in Dinkum.
yeah, and it's done that sandbox formula really well. That if you just want to spend the day exploring the island, you're going to get a lot out of that. If you want to customize your town, you're going to enjoy that. And if you want to focus on game mechanics like advancing your abilities or crafting better gear or whatever else, like there's just so many ways that you can play this game and have a completely different experience to someone else, but still really get a lot out of it.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned the word sandbox. I don't think that's a term that we've used in game yet. Why don't you tell us about it?
Oh, okay. So sandbox in gaming just means that it's very freeform and it's supposed to be there so you have a lot of creativity to make your own fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not going to be locked into doing certain missions. You're not going to be following a certain story. It's not even going to be like Stardew Valley where you're really getting nudged in a certain direction. There's going to be very obvious ways to progress the game. I think I mentioned getting better gear is going to be one of them,
Mm.
or building up the town and getting more people, or leveling up your skills, etc., etc. But you're really not railroaded onto that. That you do it all whenever you feel at your own pace, and you prioritize it how you like.
Yeah, yeah. I really liked bug hunting. I don't know why, because I don't really like bugs, but yeah, I like foraging though. So
Yeah,
I'm always a big forager in games as well.
but that's what I'm talking about. That you don't need to do combat. That you can just really enjoy the day, just exploring the island and just working towards this completionist thing of collecting all the bugs.
Yeah. Well, that's if nothing attacks you, because of course, there's a few things that will go out of their way to attack you. So the devils will, the wary moos, which are the cassowaries, and the crocodiles will actively attack you. But then there's a tier of animals that will only attack you if you attack them first, which is fair enough. And then there's just like some really stupid birds that will just like fall over and die if you try to attack them.
Including bin chooks.
Yes, yes, the very famous Australian bird, the ibis. The other thing as well with the freedom part of it is there's a few vehicles that you can unlock that makes moving around the island faster if you want to. I really liked getting the boogie board, which is, what's the international word for boogie board?
Oh, I don't know. Big fat kickboard?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Just a boogie
it's
board.
like,
It's
yeah.
like a half surfboard but not as agile.
Yeah, love child between a surfboard and a kickboard.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. I quite like that because you can outswim sharks with that. But you can also find pet collars, and then if you, what do they call them? Diggos. So instead of dingoes, they have diggos. But if you put a collar on it, you get a doggo, and it will live in your town. It's really cute.
Yeah, there's a lot of silly stuff like that in the game, and I say silly in the best possible way.
Yeah, it's really good.
You'll get instruments, I think there's water balloons, you'll get different kinds of hand gliders. It's not just about making your character more powerful. Someone is just there to have fun and be a bit silly and to personalize the game.
Yeah, I did like the hang glider. That was fun. You're like,
Yeah.
I've got a very slight elevation. Time to crack out the hang glider. It's good. And there was other things as well that you can do. So once you level up your town enough, there's an airport, and that takes you out to a really nice area to explore where there's lots of foraging and lots of reward and things like that as well. And you get to go in a plane, which is very cute. So
Well, airship.
is it an airship?
Yeah, it's definitely an airship.
Oh, okay, nice. Oh, because it's the same thing that brings you to the island in
Yeah.
the first place. But
Yeah,
yeah,
everything has this weird kind of rediscovered tech vibe to it. And so the
yeah.
game kind of suggests it as being like this big technological fallout, and that's why everyone now has these more rustic lives.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We haven't even mentioned the mining. If you also like mining,
Yeah.
the mining is a lot of fun. I find the mining gets me a little bit claustrophobic.
Okay, so it's worth pointing out that the mines are quite combat oriented, that
Yeah.
you're not necessarily going down there to do any mining, which would not be an unreasonable assumption. And while you'll definitely put your pickaxe to work, you'll also want to make sure you've got a proper weapon before you head down there.
Yes, very true.
A bit like Stardew Valley, it doubles as the area's adventuring section, and so that's where you'll see the most intense combat and the most interesting monsters.
Yeah.
There'll definitely still be the crocos and sharks and various other things waiting on the surface, but aside from the crocos, they tend to just leave you alone. Whereas in the mines, you're going down there, you're kind of in combat mode.
Yes, there's quite a few things that can get you, and yeah, you need to take food and things like that as well. But yeah, but weirdly enough, I sort of expected those things in the mine. I didn't expect the low roofs on each of the levels to make me feel as claustrophobic, but that is a me problem, not, other people problem. But yeah, it was that thing where I'm like, okay, I've explored enough. I need to get back. And I'm like, it's not even real. And yes, activating this
Yeah.
claustrophobia.
For what it's worth, I think a lot of people had similar experiences when they were playing Dave the Diver or Subnautica, which
Oh,
is,
yeah.
that other aquatic game, where they suddenly found out that they had a deep, pervading phobia of being underwater.
Yeah, true, true. And so I suppose moving this then towards like talking about coziness as well,
Yeah.
there is peril in this game. There are sharks, there are jellyfish, there are crocodiles, there are wary-moos, there are devils, there's everything in the mines. And there are, like we said before, there are some animals that will attack you if you attack them first, and you can drown. But anytime any of that happens, you just basically wake up in bed.
Yeah.
So there's no actual, I think you lose some gear maybe, but I don't think that there's really big repercussions for being a bit too intrepid.
And everything's quite cute and cozy looking. You have these gorgeous 3D modeled but still quite cartoony characters.
Mm.
The combat's not going to be particularly violent. It's usually like a cartoon person with a spear jabbing a big, goofy cartoon shark or whatever
Yes,
else.
which then like pops into like little fish steaks, like flake and
Flake,
everything.
yep.
Flake is shark in
Yeah, there'll
Australia.
just be a puff of smoke when they die, and then some food will appear.
Yes, yeah, and same with everything else as well. So that's true. And I found that I liked the visuals. And when I got the camera from Theodore in the museum, I found that I appreciated it even more because you
Yeah.
could take all these lovely photos just for yourself and put them up in the museum. But also sometimes people will request photos of things, and it really made you go and explore different parts of the island. And that was really nice. There's some nice sunsets, and there's some nice celebrations and festivals that the town engages in that are a lot of fun to take photos of. And it's just that classic, this is nice. Wouldn't it be nice to live in a society, like, or a society that is tight knit and gets
Yeah.
along and everything. And it's very
Yeah,
cute.
it's got some really lovely atmosphere in this. The seasons are something they've done really well, which considering, when you first played at early access, it was not really a thing.
Mm.
In fairness, that's probably fairly reflective of Queensland weather, where you
Yeah,
just
they
have
have
like
3 seasons.
exactly, it's like hot summer, wet summer, and mild summer.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas now you have like snow and autumn, and they've done some really lovely visuals for all of these. But also just the way the town develops in its own right. Like you do really feel this really adorable little sense of community, especially when you start getting the tuck shop, which is basically a
A pub.
yeah, it's the PG version of a pub. It's where everyone goes to hang out in the evenings and such.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, with this really lovely elements with the visuals and the town building, but also compared to then the peril and the crocodile related screaming that might occur, I think I would give this a 3 out of 5 on the cozy scale. What do you think?
Look, I didn't think the peril was that bad. Like, yes, there's a few dangerous animals, but other than the crocodiles and sometimes a shark if you don't look before you leap when you're getting into the water, the overworld sections aren't that dangerous, and most of the animals are more territorial rather than aggressive, so you know what you're getting into. And the sections like the mines, if you don't like the combat section, just you don't have to go in there.
I get to do a little. Oh, that's true. There's a lot of surface ore if you
Yeah.
scavenge around for it, but
And I know that's a bit of a cop out saying like, oh, if you don't like this element of the game, just ignore these huge, great swathes of content. But I didn't think the peril was too bad in this. It's fairly accessible. Your mum had a red hot crack at it and did absolutely fine.
yes, she did.
Yeah.
Yes, she did. So you disagree with 3 out of 5?
Look, we did say no half ratings. So while I'm torn between a 3 or 4, I am going to agree with you and say a 3 out of 5. But that's just because there's some 4 or 5 out of 5 cozy games which are just incredibly cozy.
Okay, fair enough. And my final word on the coziness is when there is combat, it's short and sharp, but do yourself a favor and build yourself a croco wall.
So we've talked cozy rating, but what about the actual game rating overall, regardless of coziness?
Yeah. I think the game rating depends on what motivates you in this style of game. So, for example, in Stardew Valley, I was really motivated to know what secret or twist was coming next. In Dinkum, there is quiet satisfaction from knowing your town is growing. The only areas that unlock later in the game are deeper mines and the coral reefs, or some of the coral reefs, special coral reef. But it happens because of gear upgrades, not because of unlocking a part of the story. You don't have plot that moves forward because of rich character development, and should you choose, you can keep on playing forever with much more variety than Stardew Valley because you're building a town, and the only limitation is your imagination. What do you reckon?
I think if you don't like the repetition and the grind, the later stages of the game could get boring.
Fair enough, yeah.
The decorating and the expansion of your town and your farm is what is really interesting, though, as the game progresses.
Hmm.
That this lovely thing is that, even if you're not that interested in developing relationships with the townsfolk or getting better gear or whatnot, you can still just have an absolute blast treating it much more like a sandbox and just decorating your town or getting to work with your shovel and restructuring the landscape and just, yeah, like I
Building a
said,
racetrack. Yeah, yeah.
exactly, or your blockbuster or whatever else you want to make.
Yeah. If you did like Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley, there's a good chance that you'll like Dinkum as well. We definitely love the Australian elements, but we also admit that we're highly biased. Seeing Australia represented in this light was really fun. Not everyone will understand all the references to different animals, bugs, and flora, but it's part of the reason we give Dinkum a 4 out of 5 or an A tier on the SABCD scale.
I agree. I think a 4 out of 5 is perfect for this. We're obviously not going to do any games we don't love, but we did especially love this one.
Yeah, we played a lot of hours on this and it was really rewarding.
And no regrets whatsoever, even when you were screaming about crocodiles. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to TNXB, a couple's cozy gaming podcast. We'd like to encourage you to follow our Instagram account, which you can find at T&XB Podcast. And if you like listening to us, then rating, reviewing, and following are really helpful in ensuring that like-minded cozy people find us. Join us next week for an artistic trip to rural France in Dordogne. Stay cozy.
Like eating a lamington while staring at the sunset with your doggo.